the reality was that I had already been a little bit hesitant about going straight into the angle with James, and that's nothing against James as a performer. I think he's a great talent. Dynamite on the microphone, not given enough credit for what a good promo he is, and and I've always had good chemistry with him in the ring. But my concern was that after the Bram angle, which I really enjoyed and I thought was very good, I thought it was really, honestly, I thought it was probably the best thing on the show. I'm trying to be as objective as I can here, but I thought it was one of the best things the show had at the time. I had made the point earlier in the sort of discussions to say, like, I'm okay with all this, and TNA were very good about that. They because of the nature of the storyline and everything, obviously they gave us a lot of say. The only thing I really said was, like, if we're going to do this and we're going to do all this like personal stuff and all that, which I'm kind of on the fence about half the time, I said I'm fine with it as long as, like, we don't just like run it into the ground and we don't go straight into another one with someone else and someone else and someone else. And they're like, no, that won't happen. And then, of course, fast forward a few weeks, and obviously I don't know whether it was a network or whatever, so we really like this angle, whatever. Then it was, hey, James is going to come down and be involved in your final match with Bram, which then leads into you and James going into it. And I was just like, okay, well, honestly, from a business standpoint, we accepted it because it meant more income for us, because Mickie was obviously working as a free agent. So every time she worked, we were making substantially more, than my sort of guaranteed money. Yeah, I think the only thing I really thought about it was that I didn't see it as very objective creative management, in the sense that I don't know a single person who liked that idea, and yet it went ahead anyway, which to me just shows that the person whose idea it was wasn't objective, and didn't sort of put that around the horn, and sort of have anybody go, what about this, what about that? They just went with it. And I have always been of the school of thought that you shouldn't just say no, you should come up with an alternative. And I know for a fact that James and I and Mickie and several others talked about a lot of different options to for us to get to the same flashpoint, but for some reason,
So was that something that they just kept shooting down when you would bring up alternate ideas?
Yes. Yeah, essentially. And obviously that, that happens. I mean, like, I wasn't, I'm never offended by if I pitch an idea and they don't go, the same way that I'm always flattered if I pitch an idea and they do go with it. Like, a lot of the Bram stuff was stuff I pitched, and I think that you can look back through most of that, and even the stuff that's a bit more on the dramatic side, I still think it was done, as well as, and as believably as possible, which is always my big thing. I was like, I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect these days in wrestling where, like, because the cat's out the bag so much, that sometimes some of the people in creative sometimes think, oh, well, everybody knows that it's not real anyway, so, like, let's not even care about that. And I'm 180 degrees away from that. Like, I believe that because of that, you have to work even harder to get people to suspend their disbelief, because if they're investing their time in your show, or if they're buying a ticket or whatever it is, they're asking you to help them suspend their disbelief. And that's really my philosophy with booking. And that was just where, when it came up, I just went, I don't, my gut just said, it's not gonna get the desired result.